On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome inside episode 427 of the Locked On Senators podcast. I'm Ross Levitan on the outskirts of enemy territory in Winnipeg, Manitoba, alongside Brandon Piller up in the Blue Mountains on an Ottawa Senators game day. The Sens are back on the road in Boston looking to snap a 4-game losing streak, and they're doing it against a team that is 4-0 on home ice. So we'll have a full preview of the game against the Bruins that includes the NHL debut of a friend of the show. Egor Sokolov will be in tonight's lineup. We'll let you know where he fits in, along with Erik Brannstrom. Are they putting those guys in positions to succeed? We'll look at some macro stats. We'll check in on the Bruins. Plus, we'll head all the way over to Australia for this week's SensCentral Citizen Lincoln Berry joins us. He grew up in Stittsville, but he's back in his homeland. How does he keep up with the Sens? Great show coming up. Hope you enjoy it. This is the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day. Today is Tuesday, November 9th, and have a birthday, Zach Sanford. You're officially a first-line forward on the Ottawa Senators.
Yeah, that's one heck of a birthday gift from DJ Smith to Zach Sanford, bumping him from fourth-line duties all the way up to the top line with the captain and his best friend, Josh Norris. So that's a good place to be if you're Zach Sanford.
Always like having friends around for birthday parties. But Zach Sanford,
Absolutely.
It's been earned. This last week, he is easily a top 3 forward on this Senators roster. He's been putting in effort. That back check against Dallas, that's pretty much where he came onto the map as a guy who's ready to contribute on this team. And since then, he's put in a few consecutive efforts. So with Connor Brown out, he's on the COVID protocol list, along with Austin Watson, Dylan Gambrell up front, and then Nick Holden on the back end. And also associate coach Jack Capuano will not be behind the bench tonight. So with these things, a lot of the lineup has shaken up. We've got a graphic. If you're watching on YouTube, you can follow along with us there, or you're listening wherever you download your podcast. However, with that absence of a top 6 right winger, what are your thoughts on Zach Sanford being the guy who goes up and takes that spot?
Look, I'll agree with you in saying Sanford has really elevated his game since the preseason and the start of the season. Absolutely. He's made some good plays. He's had some good energy. Is he a top-line guy up against one of the biggest powerhouse teams in the East in your own division? That's maybe a little bit much. Now, I know it's his birthday, so maybe you give him a little extra, but I think what DJ Smith is thinking here is Zach Sanford can kind of be, and I hate using this example because it's not exactly accurate, but like the Zach Hyman on that line. You know what I mean? Like, sure, they play a different style of game, but what I'm trying to say is the role that they're going to play is he's going to be the guy getting into the corner, getting pucks, trying to set up Norris and Brady Tkachuk. He's going to be doing a lot of the little stuff, a lot of the little dirty work, making sure he's back on the back checks, that kind of stuff, which Zach Sanford has been doing a good job of. So I don't blame him for getting an elevated role, but I think it's maybe a little bit too much too soon to go from playing 10, 11, maybe 12 minutes all the way up to close to 20 if you're playing on a line with those guys. Maybe that's a little bit much, but that's just my opinion.
In October, in 7 games, Zach Sanford averaged 10 minutes and 44 seconds. In 4 games during November, that goes up 4 minutes almost to 14:20. So the role has been elevated a little bit. We'll see what happens throughout the game because I believe Egor will get shifts with Josh Norris and Brady Tkachuk. So we'll look to see how that's going to rotate in and out. Egor will get opportunity on the power play. He's taken Connor Brown's spot on that second unit. Without further ado, because there is lots to get to when it comes to this lineup with all the changes I mentioned, the 4 players out in COVID protocol, and credit to me, big time graphic designer now, as you see on here. Pilsy, let's go to the second line now, and you and I got a firsthand glimpse of Nick Paul playing with Drake Batherson, although at that point, Nick Paul was still playing left wing, right? It was Logan Brown right in the middle. Funny, we just finished talking about Zach Sanford, the man he was then ultimately traded for. But Nick Paul goes at center between Drake Batherson on the right side and Tim Stützle. So you know that Stützle Batherson chemistry is chef kiss. You think of that backhand saucer pass that Timmy put on Drake's blade last year. How do you want to see that line work to be successful against a tough Bruins lineup?
Yeah, this is an interesting move by DJ Smith, Ross, because he's breaking up the best line on this team in Tkachuk, Norris, and Batherson. Now,
and on the back end, he did the same. So they're really trying to find a balance because being top heavy has not worked during this skid.
That's the thing. Like, it's worked while those guys are on the ice, but when they're on the bench, there's nothing left for this team to work with, right? So I get the sentiment, and you got to try switching things up, so that is fair. And yeah, definitely the chemistry between Paul and Batherson. You can look back to the AHL days, their time in Belleville. Those two were a dynamic duo together.
Unbelievable.
With Logan Brown. I mean, Logan Brown, he's off doing different stuff than Paul and Batherson, but that's fine. And then you get the combo of Stützle and Batherson, right? Like, their chemistry has been very, very noticeable as well. So I can see what DJ Smith is trying to do here, and I don't mind it, but I think I would have done things a little bit differently. I think maybe it's time to start getting Stützle in a third line role a little bit more often, in my opinion. Like, I would like to switch Formenton and Stützle, in my opinion, I think would be a good idea. And then maybe switch Ennis and Sanford is probably the way I would do things here, Ross, because I think Ennis is a water bug out there. Like, I think he could be a big energy boost for that Tkachuk Norris line. And then I think Stützle just, like, things aren't clicking for him right now. He's having troubles defensively. He's had a couple giveaways and guys just straight up beating him to the puck and getting the puck off his stick. So maybe put him down a little bit lower of a role. And then Formenton, he hasn't been able to score on all these chances, but the chances are there. So I wouldn't mind seeing him get an elevated role there. And then we look at the newcomer in Egor Sokolov. I think a lot of people were expecting him to be the guy that goes on that top line or even the second line where Connor Brown was. But I actually think this is the right spot for Sokolov. And it sounds like from what TSN 1200 is reporting, he's going to get looks on the second power play unit. I think that's perfect. But people need to remember that Sokolov, he's not here because he's forced the Senators' hand to be here, right? Like, he still has some development to do. It's been a slow start for him down in Belleville. He still has some work to do on his skating. He's improved his skating, no doubt, but he's not quite at a level where I'm comfortable getting him out there for 14, 15 minutes even strength. So having him on a line with guys he's familiar with and Parker Kelly and Logan Shaw in a fourth line role while getting second power play time, I think is exactly where you want him. So I'm excited to see Egor Sokolov tonight.
I'm so excited, and you just cannot help but cheer for him and want to see him do well. I hope that he sees at least 13 minutes of ice time, because if he's playing 10, 9, 8 minutes, he's not going to be able to get the confidence that a guy like him needs, a goal scorer where you need the puck on your stick to be able to get opportunities. So I'm looking for Egor to at least play 13, 14 minutes. And if he can, then I think he could produce. And that Sens power play needs all the help they can get right now. For all the praise we gave it, it was snapping around so well. The problem's been the last 4 games, absolutely just one goal. One goal in their last 13 attempts. And we talked about that on yesterday's show and just how it needs to pick back up. This is a team that scored 4 power play goals in their first 3 games of the year. And oh, would you look at that? That was their most successful stretch when they started the year, 2-1. So lots to look for there. And you talked about Timmy's struggles. I'm pulling it up on the bottom here because I think this is very important. Tim Stützle's career splits, and this is strange, right? You typically see players start out hot on home ice because they get the favorable matchups and comme ci, comme ça. On the road, though, for Tim Stützle, 11 goals and 23 points in 31 games. 23 points in 31 games is solid for a teenager at the NHL level. It's on home ice where he only has one goal and 11 points in 33 games. So I'm with DJ Smith here. I keep him in a top 6 role because the chances are still coming. Yes, defensively, there's a lot to be sought after going forward. But I think Stützle, he's done enough here, especially on the road, to be given a bit more opportunity. And I'm excited to see that play out. Now, a guy who I really want to see, maybe not a comparison stylistically. We know that Pasta has the huge shot, and we're going to get to a full preview of tonight's game after our SensCentral Citizen coming right up with Lincoln Berry all the way out in Australia, really close to Sydney out there. 18-hour time zone be damned, Pillsy. We got him
Yep.
on the show. But look at the trajectory of David Pasternak's career. He only had 27 points his first year, now albeit in 46 games. Pretty sick. A little bit higher of a points per game than Stützle. But then in his second year, only 26 points, a little regression in 51 games. So all I'm saying is pump the brakes with Tim Stützle. This guy's going to be just fine. He's showing glimpses. Would you like to see him maybe give up a little bit of that dynamic ability he's showing to be more responsible defensively at this age? Or do you kind of leave the reins off him and say, you're going to figure it out once one goes in, the dam's going to burst, and it's going to be all Timmy from there on?
I'm going to go with the latter option there, Ross, because if you Timmy is an offensive guy and he's a young offensive guy. And if you tell him to rein back that dynamic offensive talent, then you're not really getting his good side, and his bad side is just a little bit better. So you're kind of just neutralizing him, which doesn't make sense. The Sens need a player who is offensively dynamic like that. Now, I think when you're saying you should keep him in a top six, I agree. But the problem is, I don't think he should be a top six guy until Shane Pinto is back, right? Without that centerman that works with him, there's too much pressure being put on Timmy to continue to create offensively while being better defensively, right? Whereas if you get him with a guy like Shane Pinto, and when he's with Nick Paul, you can say he's with a more two-way defensive center, but Nick Paul also is not a center. He's a winger. So that's not ideal for Nick Paul or Tim Stützle. So get him in a position where he's with Shane Pinto, a two-way natural center who they mesh well with, and then Connor Brown on the right side. And yeah, he's your second line guy. But that is not an option. Shane Pinto's not there and Connor Brown isn't there. So 2/3 of that second line are not there. And I think that's why Timmy's struggling. So until those guys are back, specifically Pinto, I don't think he should be put in that second line role because he's more of a liability defensively and he doesn't have the support to create offensively.
That third line is the only one that stays together. Formanton, Tierney, and Tyler Ennis. And for good reason. They've been creating chances offensively. Yep. So if Alex Formanton had a little finish, he would have 5, 6, 7 goals by now throughout the season. He's getting breakaway after breakaway. It's really been fun to watch. And then we mentioned the fourth line, a line where it's all familiarity here from their time last season in Belleville together. It's Parker Kelly on left wing, Logan Shaw at center, and Egor Sokolov on the right side. Just to finish up the lineup notes before we get to our SensCentral Citizen. Again, full preview, locked on players, keys to victory. And we'll take a look at the Boston Bruins coming up later on in the show. On defense, Thomas Chabot with Nikita Zaitsev. And this is where we kind of buried the lead here because Erik Brannstrom is being put in a position to succeed. I was going to smash my computer into 100 pieces, just like that gif from Parks and Rec, where he just throws it right in the garbage.
Good thing you got a new one on the way.
Damn right. But if I saw Brandy with Josh Brown, I was going to do that. But he's with Artem Zub, and I like that a lot. And then the final pair, hopefully not on the ice for too long, but Delzato and Josh Brown. And again, there is a bug going through the team, COVID and otherwise. Really tough times in the Sens locker room right now, staying healthy. So the starting goalie will be announced later today. So we are unsure whether it's Matt Murray or Anton Forsberg. Again, Philip Gustafsson was sent down to Belleville for reasons unknown on Sunday. So that's how the lineup is tonight. Again, they're going up against a Boston Bruins team that's 4-0 on home ice and coming off a victory themselves in their last game. So lots to get into, but let's take it to our SensCentral Citizen. Pilsy, before we get to that, would you like to say a word from our friends at Direct TV Stream?
Absolutely, guys. Now, you know that right now it's an important time if you're a sports fan to get your TV together. And hey, not everyone is just hockey fans. Football's still going, basketball's kicked off, so there's a lot going on and you don't want to miss a second. Even if you're not a sports fan, even if you're starting Succession, you got brand new shows coming up, you got movies you're excited about, then don't let them go by without you having a way to watch them. And the best way to watch sports, on-demand shows, and movies is Direct TV Stream. It's going to bring all those things together in one convenient place. You don't need to remember your neighbor's login. You don't need to remember all these passwords. Do I have to put a number in here? Is there a capital letter here? No, forget all that frustrating stuff. Just get your TV together in one place with DirecTV Stream. You can learn more at directtv.com. That's directtv.com. Definitely check this out, guys. Compatible device required. Contents vary by package. Check it out today. DirecTV Stream at directtv.com.
All right, here he is. This week's SensCentral Citizen, all the way from Australia, mate. It's Lincoln Berry. All right, we now welcome this week's SensCentral Citizen. We're going back to Australia, Central Coast, New South Wales, bringing on Lincoln Berry. But Lincoln, you've got some connection to Ottawa, don't you? Welcome to Locked On Senators. How you doing today, man?
Thank you, boys. Thank you. It's it has been a long time coming. I am very happy to be here. I feel like I do have a bit of a unique perspective. I lived around Ottawa for 9 years. I was born in Sydney, and then I moved there when I was 1. Lived there till I was 9, just before middle school, and I've lived just around Sydney since then. So yeah, I have both the local and random zero coverage experience, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, we got to get into it. Like, how do you go from being born in Sydney, going to Ottawa, and then back to Australia? Like, what caused those events? That's a pretty big shift twice there in your life.
Yeah, so up until we moved to Canada, Dad was looking for work, and we nearly ended up moving to Minnesota, and then that got called off. And then he ended up getting a job in Ottawa, and then after a bit of time, family were starting to get older, so everyone's back here. There's no one in Canada. It was just us. So the 24-hour commute to seeing family was getting a little rough. So we made it. We made the trip back.
Yeah, well, it's very evident when you notice that there's 1:30 a.m. for you, 8:30 a.m.
Yep.
for me, but a different day of the week. So it's clearly not just around the corner. But when you did go to Ottawa, you might not have had family, but you fell in love. Clearly, you got Suit Sens jerseys behind you, so far away. So what was your initial impression with the hockey club in town?
I mean, growing up in around Stittsville, if you don't go for the Sens, who are you?
Well said.
I mean, I had one friend, he went for the Penguins, and then the couple of Leafs, you have to have them. But it was kind of not really an option for me. And then, I mean, growing up, I didn't go to too many games. I would have liked to have gone to more, but they're not the cheapest things going around. So we went to a few games, and I was hooked.
That's awesome. So did you ever get into playing hockey at all? I know you're only in Canada for a short time in your early childhood, but while you were here, did you strap the skates on and hit the ice? Or
the Goulburn Rams, eh? That's a minor hockey team out there.
Okay, I didn't even know they existed, if I'm honest. That shows the popularity of the sport out here. Interesting enough, my mom refused to let me play because she was not about that 6 a.m. practice life.
Fair.
So good old street hockey got me through the net in the driveway every waking day. And then, interesting story, I came back. There is a rink like 20 minutes away from where I live. But I ended up playing field hockey, and I've kind of gotten pretty high up in that, and it's a lot bigger here. So a bit of a transition, but yeah.
That's cool. It still has the same background to it.
Yeah.
When you were playing street hockey in Canada, which Ottawa Senators were you pretending to be when you scored that game-winning goal?
Oh, it's hard to go past Mike Fisher.
Nice.
Some golden era boys, I like to call them. I mean, Chris Neal.
I hope you had protective netting behind where you shot if you're trying to be Mike Fisher.
I can't say I didn't put a few holes in garage doors.
Yeah.
Naturally.
It was not popular. I mean, Chris Neal was obviously a big one. I remember vividly, he used to live across the road from my old school. And all the boys would all get a wave on the way out, and he was a bit of a hero. But I think those two were probably the biggest. And I mean, of course, Bolchenkov, if you're going around running people over.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. That's one of Ross's favorites, that's for sure. Now, I know you said you didn't get a chance to get to many games, but whether you were there or not, what are some of the best Sens memories you have? Like some of the best Sens moments that really stick out in your mind?
I mean, it's probably bittersweet. The best comes with the worst. I think it has to be that Stanley Cup run. And that was the year we actually moved back. And at that time, the flights worked out that it wasn't much harder, and we flew home via Anaheim.
Okay. Wow.
So interesting experience, because you know how nuts Ottawa would have gone if they had won. And I remember flying in. It was a bit of a treat for us kids. We went to Disneyland, but flying in, and I did not see one mention of the team anywhere. I did not see one flag. And I just remember the rage of imagining if this was Ottawa, how much we would cherish it. So I think leading up to that, best memories were, I mean, of course, that run, because I mean, that first line alone is better than what our current team in total. But yeah, Anaheim just, I couldn't do it. It was destroying.
Man, they were such a good team back then too, though. Like, I don't think anyone was beating them that year. They had Pronger playing 40 minutes a game. Like, what are you supposed to do with him and Niedermeyer out there just patrolling the blue line? Hopefully Ottawa will have their own version of that deep pair later on when these kids can develop a little bit more. But that's kind of leading into my next question is, how do you follow the team from so far away?
Yeah. So, I mean, that probably also leads on to how I found out about you guys. I went through a little bit of a slump. There was a while, and my coverage of the team was mostly just sporadically Googling, is Karlsson still on the team? Because as you can see, I was a bit of a fan.
Nice.
And then I met a friend at uni, and he was a huge Blackhawks fan. And it sparked a bit of the sport back into me. And around that time, I think that was around that LA away game, the final pre-COVID game. And I just randomly searched podcast Ottawa Senators, and you guys were the first to come up. And I think I've missed a total of one episode since.
Which one?
So in all honesty, I think you guys are probably my main source. I mean, I can stream the games, and the time zone is actually quite friendly for that. I think most Eastern time games are like 10 a.m.
Okay.
So I can kind of stream it in the background while I'm working. But yeah, I think that the podcast is definitely, there's no way I would have known about prospects or anything, because there's just no way of getting that info out here.
That's awesome. Well, hey, that timing works out a little bit better. Like I hate the Pacific time zone, because it's like
the worst.
4 o'clock, like you're still finishing your day, but 10 a.m., like you get your productivity out of the way for the first hour of work, and then, take a 3-hour lunch break, an hour into your shift.
Yeah.
No, nothing wrong with that. So when you say you stream the games, like what are you most looking forward to with this group right now? Who are some of the players where you think they're real building blocks?
I mean, Shane Pinto, you cannot go past him.
Beauty. Great guy too, hey?
Oh, so good. But I just think he's like a really good defensive center that we can build around. Sure, we've got kind of Norris on that offensive side, but I think having someone that can shut down on that front end, I think it's going to make such a difference. And then, I mean, hopefully once Sanderson comes up, our defense is going to be looking a bit more solid. So I am excited to see some of the Nodak boys coming up, but yeah, we'll see. But Pinto for sure.
Yeah, we're also very excited to see the Nodak boys come up here, because this decor is in tough shape now. Do you have any kind of answer, or do you have any kind of ideas of what this decor can do until Sanderson gets here? Like, Brannstrom is here now. How do you think that's going to go? Like, what's going to happen with this decor here until Sanderson gets here?
I mean, I'd love to say that Brannstrom is going to be every answer that we all want, but I mean, it's probably not going to be the case.
Tough task.
I'd love to be proven wrong, but I think we just need one more piece in the meantime. I mean, and it's not like we're really swamped. There's always room for one more. I think we are really missing someone, and even just to have a vet, even just someone just turned 30. I don't know who it may be, but just a leadership for these younger guys, because throwing all these young D-men in without much of a role model other than Shabbat is going to be rough.
So final question for me, and we're a goalie-friendly show. You know that by now, Lincoln. So in the crease, you got Matt Murray signed for 3 more years, 6.25 on an annual average. What's your confidence level like with him when he's healthy?
When he's healthy, I think he is worth every dollar.
Nice asterisk I put in there because it hasn't really been the case.
Yeah, it is saying when he is healthy is the big asterisk there.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, getting excited about Gus is really what's pulling me through that, because I think if Murray is healthy, Gus is the perfect backup. And I think we have quite a bit of potential there. But as you said, it's the asterisk. Is Matt Murray going to be healthy? And I'm just not sure.
Yeah, I mean, we're all cheering for Matt Murray, and if he can be consistent, he might be the guy that's worth that price tag. But until then, we're going to have to hope Gus can help pick up the pieces when he does get hurt. Now, final question for me, Lincoln, and then you can head off to bed. I know it's a little later for you out in the land down under. So I know you mentioned Shane Pinto. So other than him, who's kind of your breakout candidate for this season on this Sens roster? Like, who's a guy who maybe at the start of the season is only doing okay, but by the end of the season, you think he's really going to be popping off?
I mean, I wish I didn't have to say Stützle, because I wish he had popped off at the start. Yeah, but it feels like he's been really quiet. I mean, he has, but I mean, like, what a talent! Like, he is the lead for us. Like, we just don't have anyone else with those skills. Like, he can just dangle. I mean, zone entries last year were particularly woeful, and just having someone that can just deke without even thinking about it, get those clean zone entries. I mean, if he can pop off and go onto a line with people who are actually capable of serving him those pucks, I think he could really pop off.
Oh, that's a great one. And it's one that would really help the trajectory of this team as well. Timmy Superstar finding his rhythm, no question. Well, we're glad we got to find a time, because Lincoln, it's been a long time coming, and it's been great having you on the show. We got to keep you and Ash Rogers as our Australian Senators correspondent. You absolutely love to see it. If you want to go follow Lincoln on Twitter, you can do that, Lincoln_Berry. And we appreciate having you on as a SensCentral citizen, man. Thanks so much.
Thank you, boys. It's been a long time coming, but I'm glad to be here and repping the second Australian. So here's to many more.
All right. Stick taps to Lincoln for staying up late. We recorded that at 8 a.m. Winnipeg time, 1 a.m. Australia time out in Sydney. So unbelievable, but great to get him on. A cool perspective. Hey, Pilsy? Yeah,
very cool. I mean, for someone that born in Australia, go to Ottawa for 8 or so years, back to Australia, like that's pretty intense, and what a different switch of lifestyles there. So it's great that he's kept up with the Sens. It was really nice of him to say that we're a big reason why he's able to continue watching and continue cheering for this team. So definitely Lincoln Berry, thanks for joining the show, and thanks for making the time zones work out there, Ross.
100%. So hope you enjoyed that conversation. The Senators, however, are back in action. We got a game to tee up, and that game has wild odds. So head over to betonline.ag and check out for yourself whether or not it's worthwhile taking a flyer on the Ottawa Senators. So head to betonline.ag. Because you're a listener of the Locked On Podcast Network, we want to hook you up with a promo code. How about 50% welcome bonus? Is that good? Yes. Put in $200. Bingo, bango, bongo. That is $100 right there in your account for you to free play on the game. That means you got to win it to earn it. You can't just get the deposit and then take it out. No, you got to play. So don't sit on the sidelines anymore. Get into the action. And don't forget the promo code Locked On. Promo code Locked On to get a 50% welcome bonus with your first deposit. It's BetOnline, your online sportsbook experts. All right, Pilsy. So the Senators in action against the Boston Bruins, a team who is, well, not as highly touted as I think they would hope. They're 5-4 through 9 games so far this season, but a team that's as dangerous as any in the National Hockey League.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one thing you got to remember too, Ross, is sure that record looks underwhelming, but they've played 4 less games than most teams. Like, they've only played 9 games here. I'm not sure what happened on the schedule or what's going on. Maybe the Celtics are playing a lot at home, so they can't get home games. I don't know. But the Boston Bruins just haven't played as many games as other teams. So definitely that's something to keep in mind, because when they're at home, 4-0, like, sure, that's a small sample size, but that's a pretty tough record to beat, especially when you're an Ottawa Senators team that, I forget what it's like for the Ottawa Senators to win games, and they're coming in shorthanded. So the Sens have their work cut out for them. Let's just say that.
Fair enough. Who is your lookout player? We'll start with the Bruins before heading to our locked-on player with the Sens.
Well, my lookout player, and this is the low-hanging fruit, Ross, it's David Pastrnak. Like, pasta. Coach Cassidy even said, like, like, he has 39 shots in 9 games and only 3 goals. He scored in his last game up against the Leafs, but even Coach Cassidy said, like, we're going to get this guy going. He's really going to start to score here, and once he does, similar to Tim Stützle, right? Once they score, it's going to come in bunches, and there's one thing I know. It's the Ottawa Senators love to get streaks going. They love to give up hat tricks. They love to get NHL rookies their first ever NHL goal. Like, these are the kinds of things that happen. So I'm going to be looking out for David Pastrnak, because if he's on a cold streak, this is he's got this game circled on his calendar being like, I'm going to light it up this game.
24 points in his career against the Ottawa Senators, but only 9 goals. And if I had to hazard a guess, I would say that that's going to be in double digits by the end of tonight. Now, my lookout player, and this is just wanting to bathe in misery, really, because every time I see Charlie McAvoy play well, I think of this. And yes, I'm pulling it up on YouTube right now, Pillsy, courtesy of our friends at Hockey DB. Only 3 picks later. 3 picks later, and I extended it a little bit further because there's a string of pretty good defensemen there that went later on. I'm looking at 2016 draft, if you're just listening on wherever you download your podcast, and that's when the Ottawa Senators selected Logan Brown. The next pick was Michael McLeod. The pick after that, Jake Bean, who still hasn't come out of his shell, but could still have a good career. However, the pick after that was Charlie McAvoy. Can you imagine a situation where the Sens had McAvoy and Chabot both drafted 1 year apart? So that is just a little self-loathing there when you look at Charlie McAvoy, who's my lookout player in tonight's game, because Charlie McAvoy brings the full package, and now he's getting paid like he should as well. This guy just signed a monster ticket extension.
It's a big deal for the Bruins.
Yeah, because they usually don't give out those kind of contracts, right? For a long time, it was David Krejci, the highest paid player on the team, and just barely, because all of their stars took less, and then they use that as the ceiling. They're like, okay, well, if Patrice Bergeron's making, I don't know what it is, 6'5", whatever it is, somewhere around there, and Brad Marchand's making the same, and David Pasternak's making that, who are you to command $8 million? But it really just shows just how valuable of a player. This guy finished 5th in Norris voting last season, and he is a minute-munching defenseman. Not quite at the level of Thomas Chabot, but he plays almost 24 minutes a game. He's got 5 points in 9 games this year, and every time he's on the ice, something seems to happen positively for the Boston Bruins. So I'm looking out for Charlie McAvoy in tonight's game. You got David Pastrnak, and we should also mention that Patrice Bergeron has more goals against the Ottawa Senators than any other team in the National Hockey League. He has 27 goals against Ottawa in a span of 73 games. Almost played a full season worth of games against Ottawa. Just shows the longevity. And Patrice Bergeron, he's not slowing down, Pillsy. This guy, he's coming off. Did he not score 4 goals in 1 game this year? He scored 4 goals in 1 game. And This guy is a living legend. Quick question I want to ask you. The 36-year-old has been such a staple on Team Canada. I think that he is one of the guys who I am willing to allow. Like, usually, there's so many young guys pushing for spots. I think Patrice Bergeron has his spot on the Olympic team still locked up at age 36.
Oh, well, if he doesn't, I think Sidney Crosby might have a word with whoever's making this team, because those two together on a line on the international stage, absolutely incredible. Who's usually Marchand's the third guy on that line.
At the World Cup of Hockey, it was Marchand. That's the last best on best, right? Back in 2016.
Yep. Yeah. So, I think it's going to be pretty clear that he's going to be there. And I think
they go back to even to the World Juniors that year where it was during the lockout, and they had absolutely everyone. Bergeron had already played a full year pro in the AHL, and then he was 19 years old, got to play in that tournament. So they go way back, and yeah, he is just a living legend, but can still contribute. And I just fact-checked myself. 2 games ago against the Detroit Red Wings, 4 goals. That's absolutely sick.
Yeah, that is absolutely sick. And I mean, if you're Team Canada, you want like a calming veteran presence too.
Yeah.
And the guy on face-offs, like it's tough to leave him off the list, that's for sure.
He is finished in the finalists, either first, he has 4 Selkies, second or third, every single season since 2012, Pilsy. Every single year, top 3 in Selkie.
Other than your, this is a throwback, but other than your one buddy who went Galaxy Brain and left him off the Selkie list.
God, don't even get me started.
I think it was the Penguins. It was a Penguins guy or something.
Rohrenberg. He had Luke Glendening in his finalists instead of Patrice Bergeron. I think he had Nick Bonino in there. Fine player, but I don't think really top 5. Yeah, I love going through. I love going through people's votes, and some of them you just
love
have
getting
to
mad
shake
at
your head.
lists.
Getting mad at lists has to be one of our favorite things. Who are you locked on tonight for the Ottawa Senators?
Well, there's probably some low-hanging fruit, so I'll leave it for you to get excited about. So I'll go a little different route here. I'm going to be locked on to. I'll take one of the low-hanging fruits, and I'll give you the other one.
Fine.
Erik Brannstrom, right? Like This is a big deal for him coming up. The biggest problem for this team all season long has been the defense. They've been waiting for someone who can move the puck efficiently, and Erik Brannstrom is that guy. Now, he's been struggling in the AHL, so can he figure it out at an NHL level? It's going to be tough, but this is his opportunity. Like, with the way contracts are, he's not going to be brought up unless he knocks the doors down or there's injury problems, which there are now. So show them that, because DJ Smith has said it, like there's not much he needs to do in the AHL. He needs to show he's NHL ready. That's the real issue here. They're not sending him down to the AHL to work on skills necessarily or do a lot of that stuff. Like, obviously they are, it's part of his development, but the main reason is the contract situation. It was better to send him down and try to figure it out with these veterans. Well, now he's got the opportunity. He's put in a position to succeed, playing with Artem Zub. It's not even arguably the best right shot defenseman on this team. So he's in a good spot. Hopefully he gets time on the second power play unit as well. And this is going to be a big deal for Erik Brannstrom. Like, he's got to be feeling the pressure for this. And I hope he's ready to step up for the task.
I just figured out why Zach Sanford's on the top line tonight.
Let's hear it.
Well, it's his birthday, right?
Yeah.
He's from Massachusetts.
Okay.
And the last time he played a game at TD Garden,
Stanley Cup?
He lifted the Stanley Cup at the end of the game.
Yep. Wow. True, eh? Holy crap.
Yeah. So I'm going to say he's my locked on player, man. Zach Sanford. He's getting to play with some good line mates. And how about Brady Tkachuk going back to where he played college hockey in Boston University? Now, I think he got to play at least 1, maybe 2 games in Boston already. But again, with the COVID season, it's been a while. And of course, we have to give a little extra for Egor Sokolov.
That's who I was leaving for you.
Oh, I'm going to be absolutely locked on to him. But that being said, there's lots of intrigue around the Sens lineup tonight, and not the least of which is who the heck's going to be in between the pipes in goal. We don't know for the Boston Bruins either. It'll either be Linus Ullmark.
I think it's Swayman. I think they confirmed it's going to be Swayman, and Swayman has the better numbers this year. So
yes, although the team save percentage is not great. Not that Ottawa's any better, but the Boston Bruins have a team 897 save percentage this year. So get shots on goal early. Try to get a bit of a lead, because we know that's avoided Ottawa being scored on first these last 4 games. So Ottawa needs to score first. If not, this one could get ugly.
Absolutely. My key to the game, Ross, is going to be the Boston Bruins have struggled shorthanded. And I think Nick Foligno being out for quite a while has really done some damage there. I think he was meant to be brought in to be a big part of that unit. So they're one of the
practice yesterday. He might play another revenge game here. Although I guess it's kind of been 8 years.
Yeah, and he was a captain of another organization since and stuff. And he went to the Leafs too. So
did he? Oh, right. He wore that hat.
He went there. He went there. Yeah, that part is true. But their penalty kill, I think it's down at like 74.5%. It's one of the worst ones in the league. So that definitely. And we mentioned it. The Sens haven't scored a power play goal in a while. And when they do score in the power play, they tend to win. So I want to see that top unit dominate tonight on the power play. Try to take advantage of a weak PK, because let me tell you, Ross, I'm looking at the Boston Bruins top power play unit line, and this is scary. Like, as my computer loads here, top power play unit, Taylor Hall, Patrice Bergeron, Brad Marchand, Charlie McAvoy, and David Pastrnak is their top unit. So, like, when they're getting chances, they're probably going to score there. So when Ottawa gets chances on the power play, they need to kind of even things up there. So my key is going to be to finally take advantage of a weaker penalty kill team and try to win the special teams battle.
Good luck to the Ottawa Senators tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern. The puck is dropped, and you can follow along with us at SensCentral on Twitter. We'll be giving up-to-the-minute news, stats, and analysis there, and we'll break it all down tomorrow on Locked On Senators. I will say our special guest will be postponed, and I learned a valuable lesson in not teasing interviews until they're recorded, at least with players, but we're going to have an old friend of the show join us. I just heard back from Craig J. Button, so stay tuned for him next week as well. He really kind of put us on the map in terms of credibility the first time that he joined us. So an absolute beauty, and he loves chirping me. So I got to prepare my self-esteem for a complete shredding from Craig Button next week. But stay tuned. Lots of great stuff to come here as we're 427 episodes and now officially over 2 years into our tenure at the Locked On Network. So, hey, there's some good storylines tonight. So despite maybe a little bit of negativity at the end there from me saying that I don't think they really have a chance in this one, there is some great storylines. And there's been teams this year, Pilsy, that have done well when their lineup doesn't expect them to. You think of the Wilkes-Barre Scranton team that dominated the Leafs 7-1.
The Henderson Silver Knights.
Yeah, who'd they beat up on? Right. But that being said, Ottawa's turn for a little resilience in a time where, the bugs are going around. So let's hope that Ottawa can get a great effort tonight, and we'll be back to break it down tomorrow. But for today, we say goodbye. For Brandon Piller, I'm Ross Levitan. This has been the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day.